Welcome everybody to episode 206 of the Warhammer podcast, known as Lookout Sir. Me, Dan and Phil are going to talk you through a few topics, none of which we've necessarily thought about, so we're just going to kind of roll into it. But the broad consensus is, Phil, is probably, first of all, we're going to acknowledge the change in format to the Lookout Sir podcast. A little change, but hopefully one that you'll net enjoy. We're also going to talk about my weekend away at Warhammer World, where I played in the Warhammer 40,000 Golden Ticket event. And then I guess we're going to generally wrap up with a bunch of chat about all of the updates that have been happening across all the different systems, because we've had AOS updates, we've had 40k updates, a lot of things going on in the world of patches. There's even rumoured, air quotation marks, although it's probably not a rumour by the time this come out, that there's old world updates as well. So lots of really interesting things going on. Isn't that right, Phil?
Yes, that is correct. There's lots of stuff happening, and that's why there's, more of us more often.
Potentially. Again, so essentially, to be clear, the way we were doing Lookout Sir before was objectively good, but also objectively bad in some regards. Because basically what we were was consistent, but what we weren't doing was really necessarily... I don't know, it's hard to really articulate exactly what the problem was, but essentially it was just proving very difficult to be so rigid. And the format that we had landed on was kind of born out of the pandemic era, wasn't it, Phil?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I guess it sort of coalesced, but it was, yeah, I mean, yes and no, I would say.
Well, basically, we settled into a weekly format where we essentially just kind of did current events and other bits and pieces. And effectively, we found ourselves in these situations where we do these codex reviews or we do these topics. But what was happening more and more and more is we'd end up just doing more current events and codex reviews, which was fine, but it's quite laborious, right? And neither me or Phil were ever super duper pumped for every single one, right? So, when it came to doing Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum, we were excited. When it came to doing Space Marines, we were excited. When it came to doing Tyranids, we were a little less enthralled. And I think the thing is that it's one of those things that we're kind of asserting, I suppose, is that if it's not fun for us, is it really fun for you? Maybe it is, but ultimately we are probably slightly more invested in the idea of it being fun for us, selfish as we are. So, yeah, we're just sort of mix it up a bit and trying new things. Maybe this works, maybe it doesn't. But the broad vibe is that we're going to try and do this weekly again. But a much more frequent cadence, i.e. weekly, but much shorter format content. So Lookout Sir now will basically still give you probably 3 to 4 hours, maybe even 5 hours of stuff over the span of 2 weeks. It'll just do it in segmented chunks. So essentially, why don't you tell them, Phil? I've monopolised this enough in my way. What are we doing?
Well, we do very brief intro, who we are, then we do main topic of whatever we want to discuss, which I guess we haven't actually decided, but I think the idea is that is also the outro chat, and it's going to be a bit more free-flowing rather than a dedicated outro chat. I can't remember we decided. But then also the 5-star review section goes towards the end of that episode.
That's it. So the 5-star review kind of ends it rather than intros it. We're also doing the thing where we kind of kick off. I genuinely think, and the reason why this one's a bit loosey-goosey is, one, because of a bunch of technology issues on my part today. I've been having a nightmare, but also because we wanted just to kind of be open with the listeners about what we're doing. But the general format probably going forwards will be something along the lines of me and Phil do a really quick intro, and I'm talking like 2 minutes of snappy or even like a minute of snappy. The music plays and we go, hey, it's episode 206 and we're going to talk about Warhammer World this way. And we'll probably record that after we've recorded the segment, basically.
Well, that's normally how it works.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just, they don't know that, Phil. They don't know. Don't break the continuity.
I think they do. We mentioned it enough times.
That's fair. Well, we've mentioned it one more time. So we'll do that after the fact, right? And then, as is, the thing, we'll do the transitional noise, because we're not losing that, are we, Phil? That's a core staple of the Lookout Sir podcast. If we don't...
Exactly. It is iconic.
Absolutely. So we're going to aim to basically go like this. We'll kick off, intro music plays, we do our intro. In that intro, we will basically do the thing, but we're also going to do the thing in the intro where we go like, subscribe, join our Patreon, but it's going to be super quick. It's like, thanks very much to our patrons. Check out all the links in the description. We've also got merch, like and subscribe. It's going to be something like that because people need reminding. And it's nice when they like and subscribe and go to the Patreon. So we're going to just front end all of that, but it's not going to be like a laborious 5-star review segment where we do the, oh, Phil, where did it come from? And, oh, here's me talking about all the stuff for 5 minutes before we get to the 5-star review. It's just going to be a bit more snappy. That's the vibe, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's how that'll go. Then we'll transition into the content. The content now is basically mostly going to be outro-esque format, but what we really wanted to do is get back to some of the more creative hobby content and fun segments that we used to have, because when we started out, we were really kind of experimental with our content. We did interesting segments, and we did, quizzes, and we did gaming contests, and, top 10s, all that sort of stuff. We made a more diverse range of content. And I think, when our creative juices are flowing more, I think it creates a better, quality product that people enjoy a great deal more. But I think for myself and Phil as well, the thing that we consistently love doing is the outro segment. It's kind of our favorite bit. And then a lot of the times it incorporates all the updates and things we want to talk about. We just maybe need to structure it a bit more around like certain topics. So it's like an outro, or it's like what was the outro, but basically now the outro is kind of like the whole thing, but we're going to try and actually be a bit more kind of on that and build in some bits. So again, we're still... Nothing's ever perfect, and we're still figuring it out, and we welcome all your feedback on it. But the vibe is that essentially what we were doing before, the way we were doing it, I mean, basically me and Phil some weeks would record 2-3 times a week to get it done on time, to fill in all the segments and do it. And sometimes you felt like you were lost in a sort of weird purgatory state, because like when we did Codex, I can't remember which Codex it was, but literally that recording ended up sprawled across multiple evenings, and it just became that thing that seemed to never end. And I think just got to a point where I was like, what are we even doing? And then the funny thing is, all the time with the Codex stuff is, certainly for an army that we're not super clued up on, we make a lot of assertions and based on what we're reading. And that's kind of part of the charm of it, I think. But a lot of the time you get comments from people being like, oh, don't you know that if you took this, this, and this, and this combination, it's super powerful? And it's like, well, clearly not. So yeah, I don't know. It just feels like this is probably a better flow for what we're trying to do. And then, yeah, we'll transition out of the segment into the 5-star review. So basically, yeah, intro, transitional noise, segment, 5-star jingle, I suppose. Do we want to keep the jingle, Phil, or are those gone?
They're gone.
They're gone. All right, fine. Well, again, if listeners, if you like a jingle, let us know. We'll make some new ones anyway. Whether or not we use jingles or not, we are definitely not using the old ones anymore, because we've ran that Jeremy Beadle spot like
dry.
Oh my god, it's like literally like I am at that point where I'm like, I mean, admittedly, I hear it more than most people, I imagine, but and I know some people really love it, and maybe as a treat we'll bring it back now and again. But the fact is if you want to hear it, it's been logged in some 200 episodes of Lookout Sir. It's there.
Just randomly pick one and it'll be there.
It'll be there. So we're going to, we might look at some new ones or whatever, but at the moment, the general vibe is we'll just transition into the 5-star review, and that'll be fine. So that's going to be the way it goes. And our hope is that this will be a more enjoyable chat between me and Phil, something that we actually really enjoy doing. And ultimately, this will be something that you really enjoy listening to, because the hope is that if we're enjoying what we're doing, you'll enjoy listening to it. And it's not that we weren't, well, why am I even pretending? We weren't enjoying what we were doing before. So we're changing it. That's basically it. So if you like what we were doing before, sorry. Hopefully you like what we're doing now. If you don't like it, fair enough. Sorry about that. Campaign hard enough and maybe we'll change our mind. But this is just for kind of collective sanity. My year has been a bit crazy. I'm not trying to throw out all the usual kind of statements about horrible things that have happened in my life, but I've just been insanely busy this year. I've got so much going on. and finding time to facilitate lots and lots of recording sessions is really difficult. And I think it's fair to say, Phil, as well, it's difficult for you also, right? I mean, maybe a little easier, but ultimately it's still hard, isn't it? When you've got to turn around to the missus and say, guess what, love? I'm recording again. Yay! I'm sure she loves it.
I mean, she doesn't mind. She's well aware. Here's the thing. My evenings are much more free than yours, so I'm always up for recording. But I appreciate you're a lot more busier. But also it's worth noting that, yes, we're going to try and do weekly, but that doesn't mean we're going to put out an episode every week. The idea being that we have a bit more freedom to, be ill or go on holiday, or if there's nothing to actually discuss a week, we will just skip one, or two maybe, depending on how we're feeling. Whereas before, we have literally every fortnight put out an episode sort of without fail, obviously with the exception of like the first week in January where we have like a week off and that's it.
We actually...
This is hopefully going to be a bit freer.
We actually failed for the first time ever in episode 205. That was our first failure.
I know. Well,
that was
last episode.
Yeah, but that was off the back of me basically making the decision to change it up. And we're also not going to come out Saturday mornings anymore because we just get lost in the shuffle. What happens is we go out at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and that's what we've always done. That's been our kind of slot. But the problem is with that slot is it is immediately followed by the latest NDA from GW, and we just get drowned. Like, basically, there's no organic discovery. No one knows we're around because we're talking about something that the, NDA'd GW content creators have talked about 3 weeks ago, and they're now talking about the new hotness. So it's that thing where it's like, it just becomes one of those things. So, and also as well, just to be clear, we're talking about the broad topic of Warhammer, and it incorporates all aspects of it, because me and Phil are hobby butterflies. We play Age of Sigmar, we play Warhammer 40,000, we play to a lesser extent now, and probably actually not at all going forwards, Horus Heresy, but we also play Blood Bowl, we play all of it, right? Like, literally, I think the only system I'm not actively engaged with at this moment in time, or have a collection for, is Necromunda. And I have lots of Necromunda in my collection. I'm just not actively playing it.
Well, you say that, but we're talking with Richie about doing Necromunda campaign. So I'm on board with that one. Whether you are or not is a different tactic, a different subject. I was actually going to say the one system we definitely don't play, although you might have bought some many years ago, is Warcry. That's
true, but then who plays Warcry anymore?
I don't think even Games Workshop plays Warcry because they've not talked about it in ages. And then Underworlds, none of us play that one either. I did when it first came out. I
did too when it first came out. I am tempted to go back and try it now. The new starter box set keeps singing to me because it's got Skaven in it, and I'm like, ooh, Skaven.
They're quite nice models. Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, look, that's the general vibe, guys. Like, look, we love doing this because we love chatting to each other and we enjoy talking about this hobby and our shared interest in it. And we're good mates, and it's fun to chat with each other about this stuff and share these conversations with you. And that's always been the kind of main goal behind this, is we want to do fun, engaging content that we like doing. We're just at a point where we needed to change it because the way we've been doing it for the last few years hasn't been the most rewarding, and I think it comes through, and we need to move away from just being dedicated to 40k. We need to kind of, give people a more general take on Warhammer in general. And look, at the end of the day, if we lose listeners as a result of that, that's also fine, because we're not really interested in necessarily pursuing any kind of like ridiculous goals or mad kind of numbers. We just want to have fun doing it, and that's the important thing for us. So hopefully you're on board with that. Hopefully you like the idea of it, and hopefully you're looking forward to receiving more frequent content. Because as Phil has said, as I have said, the hope is that this will come out weekly, and most of the time it will. But every now and again it won't. So for those of you who are kind of dialed into that rhythm, apologies. It's changing now, but hopefully will net out to a positive. I mean, between now and the end of the year, we've got, 6 months left. I can't be sure how many weeks that is, but let's guesstimate and say it's 26 weeks. That could be 26 episodes of Lookout Sir between now and the end of the year. It won't be, because we'll miss a few of them. But, even if we deliver 20, that is, in theory, 7 more than we would have done otherwise. So there you go. Net positive, right?
Exactly. A strong number.
Exactly. So that's a vibe. Give us your thoughts and feels on it. I'm going to do a transitional noise because it feels appropriate, because we're basically going to get into the bulk of it, which is me talking about Warhammer World, and then us talking about, me and Phil talking about Warhammer World, and then basically going into the general updates that are going on at the moment across the systems. And that's it. Anything you'd like to say, Phil, as a final thought?
We love you all. Thank you for listening.
Absolutely. Like and subscribe. Thanks to our patrons. 5-star review at the end. Cheers all. Transitional noise. All right, all. In this part of the podcast, we are going to talk in the general sense about many things. But first of all, we're going to talk about my trip to Warhammer World. Phil didn't come because he's lame. Why didn't you come, Phil?
I think it was just more. It's quite expensive. I think
that is true.
I was probably slightly put off by the fact that it was a golden ticket event, which in hindsight I regret. But that's a learning curve for me.
How were we to know, Phil, that it would actually turn out to be a really great event? I mean, it was Warhammer 40,000. It was golden ticket. It was Warhammer World. It sounded like a recipe for disaster, but it ended up being...
And Joe was there as well, which is, always trouble.
Joe was there. Tom was there. Garfield _RFW on the Instagrams. The Shepherd Joneses were there, both Adam and Simon. That was super lovely. Paulie was there, the Sky Serpent. Not part of our, cool gang crew, but he was there. He actually came overall first, Phil. He did quite well.
He did. He's got a golden ticket. He is literally that person. So well done him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Joe,
he's been on the podcast in one episode years ago.
He was, yeah. Well, I think he's even done 2. I think he's done. I think he's done double duty. But yeah, he did actually say about coming on this one. But truth be told, I just forgot to ask him. I mean, again, with all the tech issues I've been having today, it is what it is. But yeah, much love to Paulie. Well done on your win. Hopefully we'll get you on in a future instance, maybe. But anyway, good showing of people that we knew. Stephen Box turned up for all of 2 games and then went home because he lost, which is always hilarious. I love the way that he does that, though, right? Like, how is it no one ever cottoned on to the fact that he literally turns up, plays till he loses, and then goes home?
Which is sort of ironic, because I don't want to obviously spoil how well you did, even though it would probably be in the thumbnail, but you can lose a lot of your games and still do very well and still win awards at this event. So, people should stick it out, and that's sort of the whole spirit of the game, because you are... you're not obliged, right? But
no, not at all.
But by someone, whoever it is, dropping out is effectively spoiling the event for other people, because they would have been matched up with them and now they're not. And they're probably going to have to play a very lovely Games Workshop staff employee instead. And it obviously is probably a bit of a faff for the staff to have to sort out in BCP and what have you.
Yeah, I think he was the only guy who zeroed out as well, because basically a number of players dropped on the Saturday after having lost multiple games. So it's not fair just to kind of point fingers at him, but although, it's only because of I've just observed it from the outside. Again, he might have had some personal circumstances that occurred that affected it. It's always easy to poke fun at people, but at the same time, I just always find it funny because it just feels like, every time I've been to an event that he's at, he's sort of there until he loses and he goes home. And you're like, all right, fair enough. But that's for him to figure out the way he figures it out. But it is a shame to the people that he played, because the guy who played game 1, he beat. And then the guy who played game 2 who beat him, his overall rankings, because they do it on strength of schedule and then also on opponent performance. So if your opponent drops and zeroes out, your performance is impacted by that. because basically your opponent is viewed to have basically posted a really weak performance, therefore your win is worth less. So if you beat someone who basically at the end of the tournament scores 0, you perform poorer because of it, essentially.
Yeah, that's a shame. You'd like to think it can factor in people dropping, but maybe that's a too complicated thing to do.
Do you remember there was not General's Handbook, but a chapter approved, a balanced data slate where they said that if you want to, you can basically concede. And if you concede, your opponent gets 75 points or 50 points. You remember that?
Yes, although I'm sure it still has something like that in the rulebook. That if you... that's less about dropping a game, but more quitting midway through.
Yes.
And a lot of people do that, go, let's shake hands here, we call it. And it's like, technically, if you do that, you're conceding, in which case your opponent, I think, now gets max points.
Yeah.
But yeah, at one point it was like 80% of the max points, but your opponent, rather than scoring whatever they had gotten up to that point, they actually get 0. And that, I'm pretty sure, is still the case to this day.
Yeah, and I think that's funny though, isn't it? Because I think for a while people were saying like, "Oh, is it looking like you're going to lose?" And the person's going to score like 100 points. Just concede, and then they only get like 70.
Oh, yes, yeah, which is why I think they changed it, because that allowed you to scupper your opponent from potentially like going on to win the event, for example.
Yeah, but in a way, that's what kind of happens when you get zeroed out for not submitting favourite game votes and doing all the stuff that's expected of you.
And that's true, yeah, because they would have missed out on those as well, which is it can be a big swing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing, isn't it, right? The two individuals that were played wouldn't have got the chance to have received votes, and I think that's the interesting thing in terms of how that works. But look, I mean, again, I don't understand the personal circumstances. Maybe it is unfortunate and something bad happened that required it, but it is a very common occurrence that this individual consistently drops after a couple of games or after losing, typically. But it is what it is. I mean, at the end of the day. It was interesting. Anyway, all that being equal, you're right, Phil. Like, lots of cool people turned up, lots of good games were played, and you're right. You don't need to win all your games to do well. And I think that's the important thing, really, is that, like, ultimately, I think if you're in a situation where you're down and out, you definitely need to kind of stay in there and keep playing, assuming you want to. I mean, this is the thing, I suppose, isn't it? It's like, yeah, who knows? But anyway, long story short is we went to Warhammer World, Phil, the mecca of Warhammer, and it was great. Basically, we arrived on the Friday, as is our way. All of the people that we went with this time, bar me and Joe, didn't want to go to Hooters, which is tradition as far as I'm concerned. But it wasn't this weekend. So that is probably one of the few instances where I've been on a Warhammer World weekend where we haven't kicked off the Friday night with a
sacrilege.
It is sacrilege, to be fair, Phil. I felt utterly ashamed of my association. For all of the shade I may have been throwing Boxy's way, I'm actually more offended by by my friends for not going to Hooters with me on Friday night. We ended up going to the Red Dog Saloon, which was fine.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Fine.
That's the Saturday place.
Well, exactly. Well, then we went to that pizza place that Sean took us to.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
that's very good.
Nice.
That's become a regular thing, in that side of things. We went as well to a crazy golf place called Glory Holes, which is very lewd, Phil. Very lewd.
Oh, that explains the photo which I won't describe. But yeah, okay. I wondered where that was from.
Yeah, we got a photo of Tom and Joe, their heads amongst a flower garden, shall we say. So that was fun. And then on the Saturday night, we actually went axe throwing as well, so that was good.
Oh wow, you did lots of interesting stuff.
Yeah. You know what it was? It was because the Shepherd Joneses kept organising things in the evening.
And they whereas we're tired.
Yes, we're old and tired.
We're aching and I can't stand up anywhere. I want to go home.
Exactly. Whereas, they have relative youth on their side and enthusiasm. So that's how that went. But anyway, so we went on Friday night, had a great weekend. And I'll be honest, I have and am consistently an advocate of Warhammer World events. I think Steve and the team at Warhammer World do a great job of running events. And I think they did a lot of really great things at this Warhammer 40,000 Golden Ticket event that really kind of set a very high bar and high standard overall. I think they did great.
I saw they had some fancy mats.
They did, which was crazy. So I was chatting with a member of the events team, and he was telling me that they had got them printed specifically for this tournament. The aspiration was they were going to use them for multiple tournaments, but the head honcho of events at Games Workshop, I think his name's Mike Brandt.
Yes, the American guy.
Yeah, he has authority over tournament layouts, and with the new chapter approved cards coming out, he took it upon himself. Yeah, he changed it again. So they basically printed all of these layouts for use in tournament play, and they basically got one use out of most of them. Because
that's probably a couple of grand down the drain.
I think it was a solitary grand, because it was only 30 tables worth, right? So, not
fair,
crazy.
But I guess there were like multiple designs. And what was interesting, so like previous times that we've described, they have some very cool mats where they're 6x4 in design, but they cater for the, was it 60 by 44, I want to say? Like the new official sizes for incursion missions. Was it Strike Force? Okay.
Strike Force.
Strike Force. And then down one side, you have a nice little space with a dedicated area for a dice tray. Made specifically to the size that they used to sell at Warhammer Fest, but then they don't do anymore. Anyway, you've got a little area for your armies and a dice tray to pop down. And then it's different style designs this time that they had on the mats. Some of them were like either Necromunda or Zone Mortalis, I saw, and then there were a couple of others. But what they did this time, they had the footprint of the ruins, the little squares or the L shapes. Previously, that had been like plexiglass that had just been randomly placed and often got shuffled around and moved when people were like displaying their armies or between games and things like that. Whereas this time it's actually printed on the mat itself. So whenever you're rocking up to a table, you know exactly where the tray needs to go, which is really interesting. And then there's no ambiguity, for example, where the terrain should actually be.
Mate, yeah, absolutely. And it was spectacular. And, the biggest blessing to that layout was less what it meant for the players, although what it meant for the players was really cool because we had consistent layouts and everything was done 100% correctly, which was super cool. But actually, the real win was for the event team because I was talking to Steve about this, and he literally, that doubles we did back in April when Bugman's was shut.
Yeah.
So because Bugman's was shut, the event attendees would enter the event hall at 9 a.m. And it meant that Steve and his team arrived at Warhammer World to set up for that event at 4:30 a.m. And they spent 3 hours, all told, with some breaks, laying out perspex and putting out that terrain.
I'm not surprised because you got to measure out
perfectly,
like 10 bits of terrain or thereabouts per table, and everything needs to be measured and the angles correct. And in fact, I remember playing on one table where during a game a guy was like saying, "Oh, you can't shoot me through there because of the layout," and I was like, "Okay, but I can see you. Like you're not hidden behind that ruin." And it was basically because obviously the terrain had been nudged. Or just, not set up exactly correctly. So those sorts of things wouldn't be there. And what's interesting is that the terrain's really good. Also, there's always a skull marking the center point, which is really handy for setting up objectives. But I constantly hear people praise those mats and going, why don't Games Workshop sell them? And yes, it still even now feels like a bit of a weird thing, but I guess it's something specific for the events, and they're not the people that are in charge of producing stuff for, as exclusives for Warhammer World.
Yeah, there was a long, complicated answer that one of the GW staff gave to Adam when he was asking the question, and it basically involved the procurement team, their licensing deals, but also just the way that these printers are set up, the fidelity that was required, the quantities, lots of things basically that essentially, and then also the overall demand, right? Because the thing is with those tables is it makes sense if you happen to have a 6x4, right?
I mean, they could still they could just design them for the smaller sizes.
Well, yeah, but the smaller sizes, then it defeats the point. It's just a normal mat.
Yeah, but it looks nice, and it's like an official Games Workshop one. I mean, okay, if you go, it's specifically got the Perspex sort of, sorry, not the non-Perspex, but it's got the footprint designed into it. Well, in a way, that's actually quite useless, unless you're a tournament organizer, because you would then need, like, 6+ designs, right? So I guess it wouldn't have that. Well,
my Game Mat EU one that I have for Age of Sigmar has a really helpful grid system on it. And I love that because that just gives me everything I need for AOS. But it's also really helpful for 40k because that same grid still has viability, still has function within 40k. Yes, it doesn't perfectly align with objective placement because obviously in AOS, they align the objectives with the kind of central points within the grid network, but 40k position a little bit more kind of willy-nilly. But the point is that the grid just helps kind of denote where the center is. It helps with all that stuff. But again, it'd be cool if like Game Mat EU just basically did some of those like layouts and just went, yeah, for people who just want this particular layout, then yeah, buy a specific mat. It's double-sided maybe. You've got one design on the other side, one on the other, and you've got two tournament layouts that you can just basically roll out. I'm surprised in a way that it isn't something that they might consider. And then again, they could also then, because for Warhammer 40,000, Game Mat EU do also have like a layout system for that as well. So a grid, but it's a really complex grid because it incorporates all the different deployment variables, which is crazy. But anyway, yeah, long story short is that those overlays, so they basically have the standard mat, which is the 6x4 foot mat with the area of 60 by 44 inches that is the typical gaming space. And then basically what they do is they took what was essentially a really glossy kind of plastic print. So it was like very rigid, sort of thin plastic, kind of like the same material they put on top of their own objective markers for
Warhammer. Oh, okay, they're like vinyl.
Yeah, but it didn't have the sort of mat underneath it. It didn't have like the grippy bit underneath.
Oh, the felty bit, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that was a problem now and again that you might nudge the table and the whole thing might move. But the great thing about it was the whole thing moved and you just sort of moved it back because it was fine because nothing kind of came a cropper on it. But yeah, so that was cool, really cool. The only downside of it is, and it's a meaningful downside, the glare was quite significant. So when taking photos, the tables would glare back at you quite a lot. And it's kind of like being out in the Arctic, from what I hear,
right.
Which is, you know, how like people get really bad sunburn because the sun is basically reflecting up at them the whole time.
Off the snow, yeah. It's weird because I don't remember that happening with their other mats. So
no,
is that
because
just
those
a thing
mats
with the new style?
Well, yeah, so those mats are mouse mat things. Those are still underneath it. So again, Phil, so this is not, these are separate 60 by 40 overlays. So they're not actually native to the actual mat. They've just been laid over the top.
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it'd be easier to flog them then, if they did want to.
Well, and seemingly they threw most of them away after the event because they are surplus to requirements.
Oh, true. Yeah. No, that's a good point.
I totally agree with what Steve was saying, which is that they're so valuable to the team and worth the money because because of the time they saved them. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, I love the fact that they hold themselves to such a high standard and they want to deliver really high quality events. But I don't want them to kill themselves. Like, I don't want them coming. It feels. Again, I get it's their job.
Up at 4 is mad.
Yeah, it's not on, right? Like,
also, it's a bit because I would have thought they would have set up the night before.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't know, maybe they only get
But
access to the
the
hall.
thing's open, but Warhammer World is open till like 9 o'clock, I think, or 10.
Yeah, and typically on Friday night you got old what's his chop Nick running an Underworlds event, and then so it's that sort of thing where they're getting in crazy early, and those days are long, man. Like they're there till 8 o'clock when we all leave at like sort of 9 o'clock, and then seemingly they're then refreshing the thing for the day after. So from what I understand, I mean, I was talking to Ed about this, he's also on the team, he was like there till like, although I think he was there accidentally till 10 o'clock on the Saturday. But you got to think, like, if he was even in at 6 a.m., that's a long old day, isn't it? And to do that on the regular, my God. But anyway.
Yes, yeah. And what I was going to say is having things like those mats are, it's sort of like one of the nice sort of like prestige bits that they do that sort of make you feel good to go to a Warhammer World event that's probably a bit nicer than sort of a local independent tournament.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, the spectacle of being there, and I take it for granted now because I've been there so much, but the gaming hall is cool, the store is cool, the exhibition is cool, the whole thing's cool. Like, it's really cool. It's just, we're so used to it these days. Oh, and they changed Bugman's, Phil.
I've heard, yeah. I saw some social media posts on their
it's like
the Warhammer World thing. Is it good?
It's like an uncanny valley thing in the sense that, like, it's basically the same, but it's different in ways that your brain struggles to process.
Fair.
So essentially all they've really done is reduce the amount of space that the staff have to work in, and then increase the floor space. So basically, if you imagine where the bar used to end before, now that has essentially been cut in half and opened up. So they've taken the ceiling off it, pushed the bar back, and then where the bar used to end, they've now ran tables up to that point, and then there's a space. And and it doesn't necessarily flow as well now. There was a lot more queue-based confusion, so they got some things to kind of sort out that side. But they've put a lot of nice new chairs in. The only thing that saddened me about it was it's kind of like what they did when they expanded the store, right?
And you lose the castle detailing.
Yeah, so what they've done is increase the kind of modern corporate construction space, and they've diminished the theming. So in place of, like, how like the old props were all these beautiful custom made sculpts that people had done where they'd hung up like orc heads with like knives on them and done all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, because it was Bugman's, it's a dwarf tavern.
Yes.
So there was lots of stone and woodwork elements and dwarven shields and, as you said, like I think a treasure chest and several orc heads on the walls.
Yeah, and a warm hearth and the faux fireplace and the throne and the shields and all that stuff. Basically, the only new embellishment they've added to it is on these central kind of like columns that stand by the bar. They've gotten these cheap rubber swords and just kind of plonked them up there, and it's like the lamest thing. It's like because it looks terrible. It's like before. Yeah, okay, these weren't the best props you've ever seen, but they were cool, and you could tell people put some effort into them. Whereas now they've been basically like the only new embellishments they've added are a few little rubber swords that look a little bit rubbish.
Oh dear, which is weird because they literally have a license with a company in Europe somewhere that make prop swords for Old World.
I get the opinion that because of where they were situated, it was discerned that it would be dangerous to use something.
Because kids might want to touch them or something.
Yeah, or smash their heads off them.
Ruining it for the rest of us.
Well, exactly. But anyway, look, I mean, Bugman's is fine, as it is. But anyway, so that's the general setup. Warhammer World's cool. The whole thing's cool. We get there on Friday. We do a bunch of fun stuff. A bunch of people turn up. It's a good time overall. Lots of people having good times. We get in there, day one. Game gets going.
What are you taking, by the way?
Oh, I'm taking Imperial Knights, Phil. Imperial Knights. However, unlike all the other cool kids out there, I'm taking Imperial Knight in their Skitarii detachment form. Forgive me.
The Grotmus detachment.
I took the Grotmus detachment, Philip. That was my attempt at not trying too hard to win. And Lord knows it helped in that regard. Look, here's the thing. I am at a point in my gaming life where I accept that I'm not good enough at Warhammer 40,000 anymore, and I'm okay with that. So as a result, I don't really aim to try and go somewhere and stop people. I'm just trying to kind of test things and try things out and have fun with it. And I decided that I saw some value in the Questor Forge Pact for Imperial Knights, and I wanted to try it out. I came up with some fun, interesting lists, and there were lots of ways that I could have taken lots of different Skitarii and done lots of fun things. The problem is that they were painted in a bunch of different schemes just because, and I had a bunch of stuff that I got commissioned from Joe years ago that was AdMech and Imperial Knights that all kind of synergized beautifully. So I went, well, I've got 30 Skitarii and I've got a bunch of Knights. I'm just going to run that, basically. The list was effectively a Tech Dominus, a bunch of Skitarii Vanguard, and a Caluxus Assassin.
Ooh.
Caluxus. Yeah, that's right.
The anti-Psyker one.
The anti-Psyker one. I was hopeful that lots of people were going to take Thousand Suns and I was going to look dead smart. They didn't, Phil. But had they, my God, I would have been taking names. So that was that bit. And then I took a Knight Castellan that isn't very good anymore. But I tell you what, when you're fighting against a Lehman Russ army, he makes a mark with his minus 5 AP. Yeah, it would not for the Lehman Russ, but we'll get to that when we get to that. And then I took Canis Rex because he's an absolute monster. Destroyer of Worlds is Canis Rex. And then I took 4 Armatures, and that was it.
Oh, you did take some little ones, okay.
Yeah, I took some little ones. So I took a Castellan, Canis, a bunch of Armatures, a bunch of Skitarii. Good times.
What are they called? Warglaves?
2 Warglaves, 2 Helrins.
Oh, you did 2 of each, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's how that went.
Your old classic. It sounds like a list I played.
Mate, the good thing about it is you've got all these extra bodies in the Skitarii to screen, to do actions, to add supporting fire, to clear out hoardy kind of cruddy little units. So when you're dealing with Poxwalkers or you're dealing with, Gene Stealers, they're very, very good at chewing through chaff. Which is great, but they're also really good at doing actions and things. Because you don't really want to spend your Imperial Knights' big, crazy guns on, killing a bunch of Poxwalkers. It's not really the dumb thing. So anyway, so that's how that worked, and that was cool. The problem is as much as the Skitarii element is fun, basically you lose Feel No Pain. Because Feel No Pain is a detachment rule for Imperial Knights. You keep the noble Questor thing, basically the reroll 1 hit roll, reroll 1 rune roll, and then if you kill their warlord, gain free CP ability, stays in effect. Weirdly, during playtesting, I was playtesting it with the Skitarii units also gaining the benefits of Canticles or Omnisire Blessings or whatever they're called. Basically, the Skitarii. When we were playing together, Phil, and all my Skitarii were going, now my guns are +1 AP and assault, and I'm crazy. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get any of that because apparently, despite the app saying that they get it, the FAQ actually points out they don't get it. So I wasn't using any of that in the actual tournament, despite the fact that I was using it in playtesting, including, by the way, on the Liam Dempsey live stream that I did with Joe.
There's no one calling out for being a big cheater.
I don't think anyone did that day, but it came up after the fact. I think when I was playing some people when I was playing Joe on the Friday, it came up. Because apparently, actually, I think what happened was that someone had commented about it retrospectively, and Joe said, did you read the comments? You can't actually use that. And I was like, rubbish. And then I checked, and I was like, oh, I can't. So that changed things, but it's fine. But yeah, basically, you lose Feel No Pain, and you lose all the good stratagems. So the stratagems that you have for this detachment are, in short, you get Feel No Pain 5+ against mortal wounds, specifically. Mm-hmm. So you can give yourself 5 up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds for 1 CP. If someone kills an Imperial Knight, your Adeptus Mechanicus units get lethal hits against the thing that killed it for 1 CP.
That's cool.
That is actually quite good, because if you take a Marshal, you get reroll hits, so you can do some good stuff there. You get Bonded Imperative, which is basically you can give a Bondsman ability to a Skitarii unit. I didn't have any Bondsman ability, so I never used that. Machine Focus, which is you can ignore all modifiers to the following weapon skill, ballistic skill characteristics, so hit rolls and wound rolls. So basically your machine focus is you don't suffer any minuses to your hit, wounds, etc. Which, it's all right. Very situational. Aggression begets aggression. 1 Imperial Knight from your army. Basically all your guns become assault. That was really useful on my Castellan. Because I could advance my Castellan and then all of its weapons would become assault. So that was super fun. And then last thing is Fury, which is select 1 ranged weapon equipped by a model in the unit. That model can shoot that enemy unit and only that eligible target. When doing so, the model can make its attacks that weapon time makes ranged attack, and whether hit roll 6 is required to score hit. Basically, it is the ability to Overwatch with Imperial Knights.
Oh, because they can't.
But only with 1 weapon.
Oh, okay.
So that's 1 range weapon and Overwatch with it, basically.
Here's a volcano cannon.
Yeah. Well, more often I was
plasma.
More often I was using Canis's plasma. Yeah, well, not plasma, it's thingy cutter.
The las one.
Yeah, the las fuse or whatever it's called.
But that would actually work really well on the Valiant with the flamer.
Oh, yeah, if I had the Valiant, I think that would have been hilarious. But unfortunately, I don't have the Valiant. But I think that is actually the USP of the detachment. Because if you did have the Valiant and you hoofed it up, or maybe the other Flamer Knight, not the Mechanicus one, the triple jointed.
Oh, the Questoris.
Yeah, whatever he's called. But if you took that, you could do it as well. But anyway, yeah, so it's actually quite fun in terms of the rules, but you don't get rotate iron shields. You don't get pack mentality or whatever it's called. You don't get shoulder the burden and all these really amazing abilities. Although, again, there are some reasonable enhancements. So there's one where you basically can add 4 to the wound characteristics of a knight. I didn't do that. What I did was, if an Imperial Knight model, each time the bearer makes a ranged attack, if the bearer is within 6 of 1 or more friendly Adeptus Mechanicus units, reroll hit rolls of 1. So basically my Castellan was re-rolling all its hits of 1, which is really useful for a Castellan. And then there's another ability, which is for the Magos. So a Tech Priest model, while the bearer is within 3 of an Imperial Knight unit, it has the Lone Operative ability. And in your command phase, select 1 friendly Imperial Knight model within 3, and it regains 2 lost wounds. So that's, yeah, that's pretty good. Anyway, so that was all the stuff that we had going on. That was the army. Game 1, I played against another Imperial Knight army, a nice lad called Finn. He had actually bought some anti-Titanic stuff in his army, so he took a Knight, a Tossus, a Lopotopus,
Atropos?
Atropos, yeah, with the thing.
Is that the one with the 4 guns?
No, not that one. Basically the Mechanicus style one with anti-Titanic.
Oh, the grav gun one.
Yes,
I know.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So he moved towards me in a threatening fashion. Finn actually got one of my favourite game votes, by the way. I really enjoyed playing Finn. He was a super lovely dude. Really enjoyed playing him. He didn't get a favourite army vote. I mean, beautiful painted knight army as it was. It wasn't quite the same as some of the other people's armies I played. So, that was what it was. But anyway, long story short is he got a favourite game vote from me, because he was a top lad and I had a great time playing him. In the opener, he kind of moved up. He went first, basically moved up, created some problems. And I had that sort of like ridiculous YOLO thing where I was looking at it going, well, we're either going to just basically dance around the obscuring terrain, trying to sneak shots and be crafty. Or Canis Rex could go running up the board and see what happens. And basically, Canis Rex bombs through a wall. I roll like a 3+ not to trigger the battle shock test from running through a wall, because Titanic units can run through a wall. He then basically rolls to shoot with D6 shots. I roll a 6, so I'm shooting 6 times into this big knight hippopotamus. And I managed to, out of 6 shots, roll 5 5+s, which for Canis Rex is sustained hits 1. So out of 6 shots, I hit him 11 times. And then of the 11 hits, I got like 10 wounds or something crazy like that on 3+s, because it's strength 14. And then he failed essentially a bunch of saves, and each one of them was 4 damage. So when it was all said and done, I basically had done 28 damage to it with 1 round of shooting from Canis, and done it in a oneer. And it was like, wow, that went really well. And Finn, his name was Finn. He was looking mighty disgruntled by that. He was feeling a little bit concerned that it wasn't going to go his way. But then he just proceeded to kick the snot out of me, and I lost.
Okay.
So, I was
going to say, it sounds like you weren't going to get a favourite game vote there, but then maybe you did in the end.
Mate, we had a great game, and he was a really good guy. But yeah, he just absolutely stomped me after. Like, I had a big hurrah, and then basically Canis died, and then I just got grinded down by armigers as all my little mechanicus were going, we're here too! And it's like, good! Yum, 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 yum. And that was it, basically. Just feeding them to the machine. So that was game 1 against Finn. It was super fun, but I lost. Game 2, I came up against a guy called Rob, who was running Ynnari. Super lovely dude. We've seen him around a bunch. He's an Australian fella, really nice guy. Always runs like Drakari, but he was running Ynnari in this instance. I have no idea how he lost his game 1. Like, no idea. Because he was super good. Like, super good. I wouldn't be shocked if he was submarining it, like if he purposely lost game 1. Because, honest to God, I stood no chance against this guy. He just basically was like throwing stuff at me every turn. I never left my deployment zone. I was just constantly fighting my way through warp spiders, and every turn he'd just go, here's a unit. And basically we got 4 turns in, and I'd killed more or less everything he'd sent at me. But I was behind by a massive delta. I don't remember the points exactly. I just know I was losing. And to be fair to Rob, he genuinely, consistently kind of apologised, because he actually was like, he felt bad for me for the army I'd chosen. Right. He was like, every time I'd explain the rules to him, he'd be like, I'm so sorry, mate. Like, this is really bad, isn't it? And it's like, don't worry, mate. I chose it. It's not your fault. It's like, it's fine. But yeah, he just absolutely destroyed me. So yeah, at the end of game 2, 2 great games. Rob was a really lovely dude. I gave him best painted for his army, because it was stunning. Like, it was a really beautiful, really well painted Elder army. So fair play to Rob. Great looking army. He basically stomped me in, and that was that at the end of the day. So that happened. That was fine. 2 great games, but 2 losses. Going into game 3, play against this really lovely lad called Connor. Guess what Connor's brought, Phil?
More knights?
No, he's bought Astra Militarum, and he bought a car park of Lehman Russes.
Oh, something fun for you to deal with.
And it was table quarters, and there were very few places for his Lehman Russes to leave his table quarter because of the design of the table. So basically, we ended up in a kind of 300-esque situation where there was a tiny corridor for his Lehman Russes to vacate, and essentially they would come round the corner and then get killed. And that was basically what happened to him over the course of the game.
What kind of Lehman Russes did he have, by the way?
He had a variety of them, to be fair. He had an Executioner, he had a Vanquisher, he had a Demolisher, he had the autocannon one that I can never remember the name of. Twin autocannons on the turret.
Executioners?
Is that Executioner? There we go, we'll go with that. Yeah. Well, I thought the Executioner was the Plasma.
Oh, God, do you know what? It's been such a while.
Well, exactly. I told him about your stuff, though, Phil. I said, "Hey," because he was like, because his Vanquisher was actually a battle cannon, And I said, it's fine, but what you want to do is go to Beyond the Tabletop and buy a conversion kit to make it into a proper Vanquisher. And he said, oh, I'll check that out.
The Executioner, you're right, is the plasma one, and it's the... No, Eradicator's got the Nova Cannon.
What is the twin autocannon one?
Exterminator, that's it.
Oh, there you go. Exterminator,
not Executioner. They're so similar. Okay, right.
Yeah. Anyway, look, Andy took a bunch of Krieg stuff. He took all the outer line of sight shooty stuff. So 2 of the weapon platforms, the Krieg specific
new ones.
Yeah, the new ones. 2 of those, and 1 of the old Cadian ones, the duo team of mortars.
Oh, right, yeah. So for the Krieg
team.
one, which weapon did he give him?
The outer line of sight battle cannon type thing, or the
Basilisk style one.
The Basilisk style one.
Right, okay.
Yeah, he took 2 of those. But yeah, it just wasn't really doing very much, and basically he never really pushed his advantage. He just kind of kept bringing stuff out, but he never really threatened many of the objectives, and he was just kind of losing stuff all the time. And yeah, it was a really good game. Again, a game of favourite game vote. Had a really good time playing against him. It was all super lovely. Oh wait, no, I didn't give him a favourite. I wanted to, but he dropped after day 1 because he lost all 3 games because I beat him. He was a really good dude. I'm not going to throw shade at him. I don't mean to shade.
You broke him because you were his last game.
I think the other people broke him, and the reason I'm going to say that is because I have evidence to suggest that he didn't mind playing me. But you know, that may be representative of the people who played before.
Interestingly, so does that mean, without or to speculate too much, even though he dropped, was he still able to give his favourite game and favourite army votes?
And he did. That's why he appeared on the score sheet at the end. He just, because that was the thing. People who dropped day 1 were asked or essentially mandated.
That's fair then, because obviously we were saying that was one of the criticisms earlier.
But Steve specifically didn't. Yeah, that's why he was zeroed out.
Right.
Yeah, other people did. He specifically didn't. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Anyway, I know. Class act, that one. Anyway, but yeah, me and Connor had a great game. I managed to beat him, but honestly, it as bad as I'm making it sound, he probably could have got more of a win out of it. But he's quite new to the game. Like, he was quite new to 10th. And I just don't think he understood how to get points out of the game, how to win, and understand where his advantages were. I think, again, one of the more alien concepts behind modern 40k is the concept of trading and pursuing those objectives, right? So
so I guess if you're being really defensive, you're just not going to score points. Yeah, you're not going to lose all your models, but you sort of do need to go out and try and score objectives, even though that thing might then die, I guess. And that's definitely like one of the sort of more new mechanics, I think. Also, it sounds like he might have been a bit scuppered with the train as well, unfortunately.
Oh, honestly, I felt so bad for him because literally...
Well, did he not have the pass-through terrain stratagem? If he's going for the tank?
because he'd taken Born Soldiers, so the pass-through terrain stratagem specifically locked to...
Why would he do that? If you've got a whole tank list, you take the tank one.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of surprised by. I was like, okay.
I guess maybe he wanted which in fairness would have done.
He wanted the
lethal hits. So yeah, okay.
Which were very effective.
Yeah,
but you know, the problem was he never brought enough damage out because he was doing it piecemeal.
Yeah. Also, the weird thing about that is all the tanks only do lethals against vehicles and monsters. So you don't have any real bonuses against infantry in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, he did have a bunch of infantry as well.
Oh, okay. It wasn't all tanks.
But yeah, but the tanks, he had 6 tanks or something in that army. It was a lot, right?
That is a lot.
But then it's probably not even a third of his points in modern 40k, but...
Mad.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was day 1, so I finished on 2 losses and 1 win.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. Good time. Had a fun time with it. We went out, did the axe throwing, had a nice pizza, had a good time. come back to day 2, kick off the day with a game against a Lookout Sir listener, Phil, which was kind of nice. So a nice lad called Chris, the only person who I forgot to take a selfie with, typical, bloody listener. But if you look at my Instagram, I've got pictures of all the guys I played in the game.
Did he say your voice sounds familiar?
He did ask. He came up and asked, and we had a great chat. And we had a great game as well. And again, he utterly owned me. Like, he tore me to bits. He had Chaos Knights.
Another night.
Oh, mate, yeah. I had a few moments at the start, a few little flurries. But basically, by turn 3 or 4, I was dead. It just literally was like, I can't stop you coming at me. All of your guys are like movement 14. They all hit on 2s for some reason because Chaos Knights, or at least old Chaos Knights. Obviously, there's new Chaos Knights around the corner. But yeah, just utterly destroyed me. Like, it was just, I just couldn't stem the tide, and they just kept coming. And yeah, that was it, basically. Just a absolute bloodbath. But again, Chris, really good dude. Again, continuing in the tradition of Lookout Sir listeners being top human beings. He was a really great guy. Really enjoyed playing against him. Still to this day, not met a Lookout Sir listener I don't get on with. True. And that's sincere. Like, I mean, admittedly, would I tell you if I had? Probably, because I'm a bit of a rude person behind the scenes. But sincerely, yeah, no, Chris was a good dude. Really enjoyed playing against him. Really appreciated a lot of the nice things he said about the podcast as well. And, you know, obviously it's great to know that, you know, it makes an impact with someone like him. And obviously I had chats with him about other things and general hobby stuff. And yeah, just a really great, enthusiastic hobbyist and a really fun person to play against. And yeah, someone I really enjoyed playing. So yeah, no, genuinely good times all round. So that was good. That was good, but I lost. Sad times. And then my last game was against another listener to the show. Tom, RFW Tom was my last game.
See, the conversation between you and the chat afterwards sort of alluded to the fact that you two might have played, but I wasn't actually sure.
Yeah, me and Tom played in game 5. Because we had both only won one game. So we got drawn against each other.
Fighting for the wooden spoon.
Basically, yeah, we were in the bin juice, as Tom said. But I tell you what, mate, like, you know, here's that thing. It's a lovely way to end the weekend because Tom is like 1 in a million. I got nothing but great things to say about Tom because he's just a really good dude. But like, playing games with Tom is a great time. And he's just got this really like fun attitude. He's got a beautiful army. I mean, those Lamenters are stunning. I mean, he got in the cabinet with those, came 3rd place in the player judging thing, and well deserved because his Lamenters are just phenomenal. And you know, he's great fun to play against. And we had a great game, and it was a really lovely way to end the weekend. And you know, what was extra special, I suppose, for me is I managed to beat him. I didn't think it all came down to. The only reason I beat him is because he failed a 7-inch charge with a 6. Had he made that charge, he then re-rolled it, by the way, and still failed it. Had he made that charge, I would have been utterly destroyed. But as it was, I clawed a win out of it.
I'm pretty sure he also said he lost another game because he failed a 3-inch charge.
Yeah, a 3-inch charge with a re-roll, yeah.
Yeah, that one didn't have a reroll, I think he said. I think it was like he didn't have any CP at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so clearly charges aren't his thing.
Evidently. I mean, probably shouldn't be playing a Blood Angels army based on that. But honestly, mate, yeah, great way to end the weekend. I had a great game with Tom, and I actually did give him favourite army and favourite game because I love playing Tom. It's one of those things where it's like, it was when I went through the kind of like overall kind of selection of armies, like Tom's was easily the best painted army I played against. So I had to give him best painted. And it was one of my favourite games, so I gave him favourite game vote. But yeah, Finn and Rob got my other favourite game vote and favourite army vote retrospectively. Was just a really, really good weekend. It was hard to choose between all of them because, to be fair, Connor was a really fun game. Chris was a really fun. They were all good guys. So much so I still remember their names without any prompting or support here. You know, this is that is literally me remembering them because, that it was that memorable. But again, and the great thing is all the other lads who were there had a great time as well. Everyone was singing off the same hymn sheet. When we were getting to the end of it, we were like, flipping heck, that was great. Like everyone was good value. Everyone was playing well. Even the top tables with the really like hard players were having fun. There was a really good energy around it. It was one of the best Warhammer 40,000 tournaments I've ever been to. I had so much fun. And the only thing that sort of made it worse or impacted it in any way was that, yourself, Phil, and Richie, for example, didn't make it along. Because I think, had you been there, mate, I think there was always a good chance that your Thunder Warriors probably would have gotten a good look in terms of best painted cabinet, other bits and pieces. And it's always good having Richie around as well. So, I think that's the thing. That was probably the only thing. Sean also, Tim, all of them, it would have been great had we all kind of made it. But for what it was a lot of fun. I had a great time. We were having a laugh. I didn't think I was going to walk away with anything after 3 losses and 2 wins. But as it happened, the award ceremony comes out. They go through the best in factions. I start kicking up a stink because I'm like, oh, because Joe won best in faction of Dark Angels. And I was like, oh, if I had run some obscure army, I'd be winning that right now. Because I was just sort of being a bit of a...
It is funny that technically it is a codex, but it's really a codex supplement. So it's odd that they were splitting the factions down to that minutiae.
Yeah, it was pretty mad, but it's what it is. But so they did that. He won best in faction for Dark Angels. Obviously, Tom went up and got his 3rd place for
best army
for best painted, which is super great. At that point, you're thinking, okay, we knew Adam had won 3rd place proper for winning 4 games, losing 1. So we already had done the maths and worked out that Adam was getting 4th place. So that was 3rd place. So that wasn't a shocker to us.
He consistently does well, doesn't he?
He's the king of 3rd place, mate, and 2nd place, to be fair. He's never managed to go for gold, but he's often finished.
Never
in the
the
top
bride,
3.
is he?
No, seemingly not. It's always hilarious, but I mean, fair play to him. He's a great player. He downplays it and gives it all the usual kind of like excuses, but he's great. He's so good at it. He's got a sort of throw caution to the wind, kind of like aggression to his play style that just sort of brings really great results. Like I've always really respected the way he plays because he makes it seem like he's not trying and he makes it seem like he's not putting any effort in or that he's not got a plan or he's not really kind of put the work in to be good at this. And, the funny thing is he'll probably listen to this and tell me, Dan, you say this, but I really aren't. I'm really not trying that hard. I'm just, I'm just lucky or whatever it is. But I know you can't be as consistently good as he is with just luck alone. And, he'll probably feel awkward hearing me actually say nice things about him for a change. But he's genuinely great at the game. And I really enjoy playing against him as well. Not everyone does because he can be a bit much sometimes. But honestly, I find him brilliant. But yeah, so fair play to him. We knew he got 3rd. So at that point, we're like, okay, so Joe's got his best in faction, Tom's got his 3rd place painted, and Adam's got 3rd place tournament. Good result for the lads. Out of the 6 of us who went up together, 3 of us are walking away with a bit of something. Happy days. And then out of the blue, they announce, there's 2 people who won, who got 5 favourite game votes. So they are our favourite general. Now, the way it works is we reward the prize to the person who performed best overall. So the best overall performance who got 5 favourite game votes will receive the most favourite opponent award, which this time around is a big pint glass with most sporting player written on it, which is super cool. So they announce the first guy who came lower, who was essentially a GW staff member, as they all too often are.
So was he the ringer, so to speak, for dropouts?
No, well, he was playing, but he'd only he was playing, but he won 5 favourite game votes, and you're thinking to yourself, and they said, the person who's got the other one has come higher than this guy, and I'm looking at the guy and thinking, I don't know what his record of achievement is, so I'm not thinking to myself, I'm not thinking at this point. I'm not thinking, oh, it's me. And then lo and behold, up comes my name, and I'm like, what? Oh my god!
You like that's a mistake.
Yeah, well then I'm like, how bad did that guy do? If I'm winning it, because I only won 2 games, and I said it to him after. It's like, oh no, I only won 1. So I was like, flipping heck.
That's how you get the votes, though. We've said it so many times. You've got to lose your games to get the favourite game votes.
It's mad as it sounds. Yeah.
What Adventures? What army did he have? Do you know?
I actually have no idea. No idea at all. Probably orcs of some flavour or something mad like that. But yeah, so he got 5 favourite game votes. I also got 5 favourite game votes. And because of overall standings, I won Most Sporting Player Award. And I was genuinely thrilled with that. I was like, that's amazing. I'm happy with that. Great weekend. Job done. Little did I realise that as well as winning 5 favourite game of votes, I'd also gotten 5 favourite army votes, which is crazy because it's an army commissioned from Joe. So really, Joe technically is also a kind of co-collaborator on this overall performance. But because of that, after Adam went up and got his 3rd place award for actual gaming performance, there's me with my pint glass going, yay, this'll do. And then lo and behold, they're like, and in 3rd place overall, Dan. And you're like, what? Like, what the heck? So you're like, all right, cool. So at the end of the weekend, with 2 wins and 3 losses and a bucket load of soft scores, I managed to come 3rd overall.
That's mad. Because if this was a Throne of Skulls event, which is meant to be casual, I would not be surprised whatsoever. But of the not the grand tournament, the golden ticket event, which is meant to be the try-hard event, it is meant to be the serious tournament. The soft scores, I mean, admittedly, you got a lot of them. You got 10. So that is a lot of weighting. In the Throne of Skulls, each vote is the equivalent of a win. So maybe that is still the case in these ones. And we've had many debates over the years about whether this is good or not for the game. But in a way, it's great that they recognise sort of hobbyists as much, like all-rounder hobbyists as much as just gamers. And it's good that they actually recognise both of them at this event rather than it just being for the tryhards.
Yeah, and I think that really added to the overall kind of posy vibe of the thing. But I think ultimately, it was just really lovely to come away with that. And again, it's funny because all the other people that achieved overall, so Paulie, who came 1st overall, I can't remember the guy who came 1st actually, but Paulie came 1st overall, so gaming score combined with soft scores. Paulie's scores all kind of came from favourite army votes because obviously people who play against him were like, well, that's a beautiful Trakari army. He gets the votes for that. But he also won like 4 out of 5 games. So he basically was, he finished in overall rankings in like 9th place. And then because of all the favourite army, really good. Well, not overall ranking. He finished in actual rankings.
Yes,
in 9th
that's
place.
what I mean. That's good.
And then because he got loads of favourite game votes, he shot up to 1st place overall. Not favourite game, favourite army votes. So that was great for him. The guy who came 2nd overall, I've no idea how he did. He actually, I think he came 4th actually. So I think the guy who came 2nd came 4th actually, 2nd overall. And then, basically, I came 3rd. But in my actual rankings, I was like 50th. So I was 50 actually, 3rd overall. It's like the power of the soft score.
Like, if you could only have won like one more game.
Well, exactly. I mean, obviously, who could say? But I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, it was great. Had a lot of great games. Went really well. I'm really happy with it. It was a fun weekend.
I was going to say, there was one thing I did notice, and I'm going to call you up on this.
Yeah, go for it.
I believe in terms of the actual results, 1st and 2nd were both Emperor's Children players, despite you poo-pooing that codex.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think that speaks to my earlier point, which is I don't understand what's good in 40k anymore. And that's why I want to move away from doing that kind of content, because I don't know what's good anymore. Because I'm not as in tune with it. I was playing Age of Sigmar last night, and that game is so intuitive to me. I know how that works, and I know I can look at War Scrolls and go, that's good, and this synergizes, and this makes sense. the puzzle of Age of Sigmar. It's like it's like I'm
in.
Neo in the I'm Neo in the Matrix with Age of Sigmar. I can see it. 40k has just escaped me. I don't understand. And the problem is I was really, and this is very self-aggrandizing, but I was good at 7th edition Warhammer 40,000. I was pretty good, at times very good, at 8th edition Warhammer 40,000. I scraped by at 9th edition because it mostly was similar to 8th, but with added complexity. 10th is just a game that I just can't figure out. There's something about the size of armies, the trading, the way that it plays, that it just doesn't gel with me instinctively. Whereas Age of Sigmar, I just get it. And I think that's the thing. You're absolutely right. I'm completely unqualified to just to state what is good in this game anymore. And that's kind of why I want to stop trying to be in situations where I need to do that. Obviously, I want to go on a path of education and get better at understanding these rules, because I do still love the game, and weekends like this have really kind of reinforced that. But ultimately, yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, to your point, Phil, absolutely. The Emperor's Children seemingly are much better than I gave them credit for.
I mean, here's the thing. It could be that they were both running one particular build, which is very strong, and the other...
It was Demon Princes and Noise Marines.
Okay.
That was all it was. Both armies were Demon Princes and Noise Marines.
So it could still be a bit of a busted codex, but there's like there's good ways of running it still. Yeah,
I still think it's a bit of a missed opportunity, but again, who cares what I think? I don't know what I'm talking about. I came 50th in actual fact, and then managed to come third overall because I didn't mind getting my head caved in by people.
But winning 5 favourite game and 5 favourite army votes is really a good result. I mean, well done you. That used to be the credentials for winning Night of the Inner Circle, which you have also won. So you've got generally good credentials, probably more so than most people, to be that you're an all-round nice guy and a good sport.
Well, that's the thing. Absolutely, I've got some hardware on the shelf that proves that I'm not a monster. But
yes, yeah, despite you come across on the podcast sometimes.
Well, exactly. Here's the thing, though, right? Like, without wanting to sound preachy, it's really straightforward, right? When you get to a game of Warhammer, one of you is going to win and one of you is going to lose. If you are not comfortable with losing, well, then don't really. It's hard, right? Because I do understand why people don't want to lose, but you have to accept that losing is as likely an outcome as winning, and you need to kind of maintain a positive attitude throughout. Sorry, my darling wife has come in and started doing a bunch of stuff in the corner. You all right? What are you doing?
I'm trying to get a Coke and not be noisy.
Are you trying to get a Coke out of the fridge and make a load of noise?
Well, not. I was trying not to make.
It's all right. It's fine.
Sorry.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. This is going in, by the way.
Okay. Sorry.
It's all right. You don't need to apologise to me.
Sorry.
Now you're making me sound like I'm some. I was just basically talking about how wonderful I am, and now you've come on, and now I sound like a monster.
Don't hit me, please. No.
Don't hit me. Don't. Oh God, your cold hands. What have you been doing? Why are you so cold?
Because the house is cold.
All right,
the door's open. Hi, Phil.
Hello.
There we go. Say hello to the listeners as well.
Hello, listeners.
There we go. Right.
I'm sorry.
Now back to your cave, you. Take your Coke and go. Anyway, what were we saying? Yeah, so basically, it's the social contract. You're going to lose most of the time, or you're going to win most of the time. You're going to win 50. It's 50-50. So you kind of, like people were absolutely destroying me, and I was like, yeah, whatever. We try my best. Gave them games. And I think that's the thing. And it's easier said than done, and I'm not suggesting that, you need to be comfortable with that, but you kind of have to get used to it. But I think the thing is, again, without wanting to sound super arrogant, I think I've been in a situation where, because I've been able to consistently perform quite well and win some things over the years, I kind of got to a point where I've kind of come full circle with it. I used to be really try hard and wanted to win at all costs. Not that I would cheat necessarily, but just really try hard to win. Whereas now I'm kind of like the opposite, whereas I just don't care. Although in Age of Sigmar, I'm a little bit more passionate about winning. But even then, I'm like, well, whatever will be, will be.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Definitely more mellow as you've aged.
Well, exactly, that's it. The edges have come off, although I'm still always being accused of being a cheater.
Well, that happens constantly.
Yeah, but mostly by my friends, to be fair. Not not actual cheating accusations, just you lot giving me a lot of nonsense.
Yes.
Anyway, right, on the topic of a lot of nonsense, that was Warhammer World stuff. We'll probably close out, Phil, by just talking about, in the general sense, because we're not going to get super in the weeds with it, but good Lord, what a series of changes have been going on. Have you been keeping up with much of it? You looked at all the 40k balanced data slate stuff?
I've passed my eye over the 40k stuff, mostly the stuff that's personal to me. Obviously, no real big changes in terms of core rules, but that's all to be expected at this sort of, state of the game with 1 year left to go. There was a few big changes, I think, for like Admech and Tau.
Admech didn't get massive changes. I mean, they already saw big changes before.
Yeah, it was just a few little tweaks.
Yeah, they changed Votan transport capacities, which actually makes a big deal. So those little like drones that Votan get. Those little like.
Do you mean the small buggies?
No, not the small bug. The sorcerer geezer's got a couple.
Oh
of
yeah,
those
the floating drones. Yeah.
Yeah, like those now have become like 0 transport capacity or something, so you can put them in vehicles at no cost. So that's like a cool thing. And then they've made a few tweaks to a few bits and pieces here and there, but on the whole, it's relatively minor changes. The Death Company Blood Angels change is quite significant. So before, Death Company only had an OC when they were within 12 inches of a chaplain. Now it's within 12 inches of a chaplain or 6 inches of any Blood Angels character. So that's quite a significant change of pace for them. And they've massively reduced the points of Blood Angel units. So Sangard, but more specifically Death Company, have come down quite substantially in cost. So you can potentially now, with the combination of the character changes, but also just the points reductions, I think you're more than likely going to see a lot more Death Company in the foreseeable future, which I think is a net positive. I love the Death Company personally. It's a great army, so it's cool to see that. But yeah, otherwise on the balanced data slate side of things, in terms of updates, they didn't do huge amounts. Oh, they hit Ynnari over and over again. They did multiple debuffs to Ynnari. So now, do you even know what the Ynnari did, Phil?
The shoot on.
No, that's
thing?
like an old ability. Basically, if someone died, they could do like a move, and they did they've got some other stuff specifically to their detachment. But now they've changed it. So there used to be a gimmick where you could have like a wave serpent or a falcon, and you could put like fire dragons in it, and then you could basically kill a unit. So you could send up like a sacrificial unit, get it killed, and then your falcon would, at the end of the phase, do a reaction move and move its full distance, and then obviously set up a staging situation for like a fire dragon unit the next turn. So there were lots of like weird jank that you could do, but they've shut down a lot of that. So they've hit the Ynnari a bunch of times. But yeah, probably the most significant changes are to the Tau, the Tyranids, and the Dark Angels, because the Dark Angels have got new rules for the Lion, and they're really amazing. But the thing that's crazy about them is their new detachment. So their new detachment is just a little bit silly. So you're -1 to wound all infantry and mounted Dark Angels. So that's crazy. Nice. And the abilities that come with that detachment is crazy strong. So expect a lot more people to be running Deathwing Knights in the foreseeable future, because they've just become insanely durable now. Not to the same extent as what they were in 9th edition, but still pretty tasty. And then Tau have changed, so they've got this new detachment where they're basically more efficient at killing stuff through shooting. So they've changed the way spotting works, and that's super interesting. So they've definitely seen a bit of a boon. And then they've added this really weird jank detachment to Tyranids, where it's probably one of the most characterful and interesting detachments they've made for a while. But essentially the idea is they burrow up through holes.
Oh, yeah, with the Trigons.
Yeah. Which, again, seems super cool. So on the whole, actually, I mean, I genuinely felt like it was a pretty good series of balanced data slate updates. I think they've done quite a lot of fun stuff. It's too early to say who the real winners and losers are. It takes a couple of weeks for things to settle. But early doors, Dark Angels look like they're in a really good spot. Blood Angels have obviously seen massive points reductions, which are hugely benefiting their overall army performance in terms of models on the table. Yes, okay, fair enough. Did they really need more models on the table? Evidently, yes, but it's not necessarily my favourite way of fixing a problem.
Yeah, I thought Blood Angels were doing quite well, but I guess maybe they weren't once they took away the
desolation thing.
Well, no, they regular Space Marines got a buff for not taking their detachment, like Blood Angel detachments, right? Whereas before,
there was a time where basically you could do that Blood Angel detachment and do some shenanigans, but they closed all those loopholes and they got a lot less good. So yeah, Blood Angels aren't what they were, but ultimately they're still fun, or they're even more fun now because you can take a lot of stuff. But yeah, so interesting on the balance day. Let's say the new cards are okay. I've not meaningfully played with them. I've got them. They're fine. We'll do more of a deep dive on the cards in the next episode.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for mine to arrive because they've not been posted yet. So hopefully I'll get them soon. They look interesting though. It sounds like stuff has changed, but not much in terms of the missions layouts, and actually not layouts because they're not in there. The missions and the secondaries. So it still feels like you're playing pretty much the same thing as before, which feels
they've got that rubber banding mechanic now. The
the kind of catch up mechanics, yeah. So that is really interesting, and that's great because that's the one thing that was in Spearhead that I said should be in AOS. And weirdly isn't in AOS, so you get a option to do a stratagem or score points. So if you can't score, you can at least do a cool ability, which is cool. And then obviously you got the asymmetric kind of casual missions in there, which I think is probably the more interesting thing out of it than.
And 1,000-point missions as well.
Oh yeah, 1,000-point missions. So that's all great, and yeah, I tend to play more 1,000-point missions and. Ideally more casual style narrative missions, so I'm looking forward to checking those out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Age of Sigmar got its points updates today. The General's Handbook's out this weekend. It's leaked everywhere online, but we're not going to go into the leaks unnecessarily because it's not necessary to do so. We'll talk about it next week. The General's Handbook. I think we'll do probably a bit of a side-by-side where we go through the General's Handbook and we go through the new chapter approved cards and have a bit of a natter about how those look. Assuming Phil gets hold of both. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, super excited for the new General's Handbook. Been reading and obsessing over that. I've built so many lists. I think I've settled Phil on my perfect Skaven list now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the state of the list. I think it's gonna do really well for me at the upcoming Golden Ticket event.
Oh, that's good. I was, because the points in the app updated today, so I was toying around with a bunch of different lists for an event I'm doing in August with Richard and Tim. Not you, unless you change your mind. The tickets still are available. So the Scourge of Gyran, apparently we are weaving the. Actually, no, that was the. I was going to say we're weaving the narrative of the actual event, but for the lore in the game. But I think that was specifically the narrative, the grand narrative event that's happening for 40k in I want to say September. So I tried to get tickets for that, but it sold out instantly, literally in seconds. Which was
the 40k stuff goes crazy quick.
That was mad, which is a shame. And yeah, apparently that is lore crafting narrative, which sounds interesting, but who knows what actually comes of it. But yeah, I was toying around with some lists today, but the problem I found is because I don't have the actual General's Handbook, I can't look at the battle tactics that you need to select. And I don't know what they are because I've been avoiding the leaks, so I'll have to wait a few more days before I can finalise those aspects of the list building. But the rest of it seems really good, and that it caters for the old General's Handbook and this one in the list builder. There's a little toggle option, which then can unlock the new Scourge of Gyran units, for example. and heroes and artifacts. So the fact that they've introduced a new feature to the app is baffling that was possible, because we've rarely seen any sort of UI updates to those 40k and AOS apps since launch.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I genuinely like what they've done with it, though. I think, the updates are really cool. I love the Goran specific units. I think they're super fun.
Yeah.
I think the whole thing's great. I'm so high on Age of Sigmar right now, because I just think that team get it right more often than not. It's a shame that the edition has been marred by a lot of loss. Obviously, we've seen a number of different armies be either removed entirely or diminished in their collections, but ultimately, I'm really loving AOS at the moment. I think they're just doing some great stuff. So my 2,000 point list, Phil, is going to be 1,990 points. I'm going to say some Skaven stuff at you that you're not going to know what it is. But it's Lord Screech the Vermin King. Do you know who he is?
Is he just like a... Is he...
he's a Vermin Lord, but he's like
foot?
a named Vermin Lord.
Is he...
well, they're all on foot, yeah.
Is he the new one that came...
No, not the new one, the old named one, basically.
Okay.
Unit of Clan Rats, not reinforced. Doom Flayers reinforced. Those are the wheels.
The little ones, though.
The little wheels. Yeah. A unit of Rattling Guns reinforced. Just the one, because the changes to obscuring terrain make it that ultimately you don't really want to take loads of shooting if you don't have to.
That is, sorry to interrupt, my one bugbear with Nighthaunt in terms of their updates. When they're constantly a bottom tier army, and other armies like Aussie Bone Reapers got waves of points reductions across the board when they perform statistically better in the rankings, and the fact that, as you have pointed out, they've sort of nerfed shooting by how obscuring terrain works, yet Nighthaunt completely ignore obscuring terrain because they have fly, so they can always be shot at. So the one sort of debuff to shooting actually doesn't affect if you're fighting against Nighthaunt.
They've got to make good on the fact that you were good for 5 minutes, Phil. That's how it is in the world.
That was it. That was literally like 3 months of good times, and then the rest of the time it's like you can. What was it? Be in the bin juice, as Garfield was saying.
Yeah, be in the bin juice.
Yeah, thanks.
You flew too close to the sun, mate, and now you must suffer.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, shame.
I'm torn, by the way, with what my war machine is going to be at the moment. Well, technically I've got 5 options. I could either have a Doom Wheel, a Plague Claw, a Rattling Warp Blaster, a Warp Lightning Cannon, or a Warp Grinder. For my army, it's either going to be the Rattling Warp Blaster or the Warp Lightning Cannon. Because I have the points, I've done the Rattling Warp Blaster, which is the one that came in Scaventide. It's probably one of my least favourites, but it does have objectively
the one that can do the mad number of shots.
Yeah, and the thing is with it is entirely intended to die. Like, I'm just using it as like a distraction card effects. But the thing is with the Warp Lightning Cannon is it has the same function, it's 20 points cheaper, but all the damage resolves as mortals. So you basically get between... So your regular attacks are 2d6, but if you're within range of a hero, you add 6 more attacks. So you'd be 2d6 plus 6 attacks.
Lots.
Yeah, so potentially, I mean, obviously you're never going to get up to 18 shots with this thing, but you could probably, with 2d6 plus 6, get consistently to like 12, maybe even 14. So if you got 14 shots and every one of those hits resolves as a mortal, you could, with a really lucky round of shooting, get like 10 mortal wounds off on something.
Wait, is it only crit hits and mortals, or is it any hits?
No, just hits. Every hit's a mortal.
What?
Yeah.
Madness.
But that's the thing, you see.
That's the joy of AOS, is it's all madness.
But the thing is with that is the reason I like it is it basically performs the function of being potentially scary. You put it in your list expecting it not to do very much, but on the off occasion that it does something, it might make your opponent worry about it, because if I open up in round 1 and go, hey Phil, 10 mortal wounds or 10 mortal damage as it is in AOS, you might be like, oh, that's a problem. Whereas if my rattling warp blaster shoots 6d6 plus 3 shots, yeah, okay, it could do a little bit of damage, but you're still getting your 4-up saves against it, and I will have done a bucket load of mortal damage to myself by rolling 1s to hit. So it's one of those, isn't it, where it's like, yeah, I think... Admittedly, also, the lightning gun, the warp lightning cannon has the same problem. Many 1s do also resolve mortal damage against that.
Fair.
But anyway, those are 2 things that I'm sort of milling between at the minute. But at the moment, it's gone down as the Rattling Warpmaster just because it's more expensive. I've got a Vermin Lord Deceiver, which is one of the most fun units in the army, another unit of Clown Rats, a Death Master, and a unit of Night Runners, which I appreciate no one probably knows what that means. But that, to me, is, I think, the perfect, at least for me, 2,000 point Skaven army.
Aren't they the Rat Ninjas?
They are the Rat Ninjas, yeah. So I've got 3 Rat Ninjas. I've got the big Rat Ninja, the medium-sized Rat Ninja, and then 10 little Rat Ninjas.
Yeah, quite a few. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, so they're fun. And then, yeah. So there's some good stuff you can do with it. Screech is great because he has every Skaven keyword. At the moment, I'm using the new Skaven detachment, or whatever they're called, battle formation thingy, where if I do a redeploy, up to 3 units can redeploy simultaneously as long as the initial one is wholly within 13 of the 2 others. So you can redeploy 3 units simultaneously, which is quite useful. But I keep coming back to the idea that improved shooting through warp cog is the way to go. But anyway, really excited about those releases. I think that's super cool. They've also put out a load of stuff about the Horus Heresy rule set that seems interesting. My initial weirdness with Horus Heresy still stands. I'm not interested just because I don't really want to rebuy a load of books. But obviously, if you like that kind of thing, then that's going to be the sort of thing that you like, and hopefully the game is good. But yeah, I'm relatively moot about it now because I've kind of met something of a mental barricade that I'm going to struggle to get over for the foreseeable. But, I hope it's good, and I hope in the future I take a second opinion on it. But for now, I think I've just got too much other stuff going on. But you kept many tabs on Heresy, Phil?
I've been looking at the articles. Obviously saw there's a bunch of leaks out as well, but other than reading one of the rules and going, that sounds very complicated, and probably a lot written in. It's almost written as if it's legalese, but it isn't, and it doesn't benefit of the bullet points that 40k has. So, and in general, the stuff they previewed on Warcom is similar. I think some of it actually, after the initial shock of the mad stats for weapons and leadership stuff, feel like it can give a much more nuanced and narrative flavour to the game, which I think is positive. I don't think it's easy as a learning curve. If I was to ever buy the book, it feels like a lot of reading, which doesn't seem fun. But then once you've gotten over that, and if that was like your one game, it's not a big deal. If I can bring up the criticism again, if it's the same edition for many years and they're not recycling it every 3 years, the initial barrier to entry is less of an issue, because once you're in, it's those rules for 5-6 years. It's less of a problem. If you're having to relearn all the rules every 3 years and it's a massive, 100, 200 page book, obviously the rules are not all of that, but they're a considerable amount, then that's also a bit of a hurdle. Whereas at least AOS and 40k, the rule set's relatively streamlined in comparison. So yeah, I've been following it along. I'm positively optimistic at this stage, but as you say, still not 100% sold on buying anything for it.
Yeah, I think that's very much where I'm at as well. It seems cool, but not something I'm invested in just yet.
Yeah, I'm TBC. If I can, obviously there's loads of like splitter people out there, so if I can get a copy of the rule book for cheap, I might do that just for the sake of it. But like the last one, it just feels like it's going to be, 20-30 quid down the drain, because I'll at most play 1 or 2 games with it, unless I get really into it when it comes out, which, if I do, then I do, but I'm not holding out hopes for it, basically.
No, agreed. Brilliant. All right, there we go. Normally we transition into a 5-star review now as per the new format, but we've been poorly prepared against the backdrop of some other stuff. So that'll wrap episode 206. We'll see you again next week for 207, where we might be talking about the General's Handbook and the new cards for 40k and a little bit of a kind of side-by-side comparison. Or we might talk about something else entirely. We'll figure it out in the time and space between now and then. But we hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much for listening. Please consider liking, subscribing, signing up to the Patreon. And until next time, goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Doodle pip.